In this video, we'll uncover the brand new study that tells us that eating eggs is going to cause heart disease. Hi ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Zarowski and welcome back to the channel. Now if you're new to the channel, it's a pleasure to have you here. Be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification, and join our notification community so I can help you excel your health and your life. Now in this video, we're talking about, is eating eggs bad for your heart? Okay, recently the Journal of American Medical Association basically came out with this study saying that if you're eating eggs, it's going to increase your risk of heart disease and it's going to increase your rate of mortality, which is very scary stuff. And I can tell you that I feel like I'm losing brain cells as I'm talking about this, but the problem is that I've done a lot of different content around the topic of eggs and how healthy they are, so a lot of people are asking me this. So though I don't want to cover this because I think it's just kind of craziness, I'm going to, just for the people who are getting confused, because this is one of the things that just becomes absolutely appalling about people who are trying to live a healthy lifestyle, is they keep running into stuff like this that just totally confuses them. Many of the major media outlets took this story and ran with it, just saying, eggs are going to kill you. So let's breeze through this topic and get to the bottom of it. Now, when we look at this 2019 JAMA study here, basically what we find is that this is an observational study. Okay, so this isn't a new study in the sense of they just did this double-blinded study and they went in and figured this out. It's just they went and looked at a whole bunch of old studies. Okay, they took 6 different studies dating back to 1985. Dating back to 1985, and that's the first problem, is that people live different today than they used to in 1985. So when you're basing information off of that, there's going to be a lot of flawed information. Okay, a couple things to take into consideration. Fact: people exercise more today than they did back then. Fact: people don't smoke as much today as they did back then. Another fact is that people were probably cooking their eggs in margarine back then because they thought butter was extremely dangerous. There's so many different things that people were doing back then and they just didn't know any different. So we know better now, and so most people are making better decisions. So we have to take that into consideration when we look at stuff dating back this far. Next is that the study was questionnaire based. Okay, this becomes a little bit of a problem, because when you do these questionnaire-based studies, a lot of people don't remember the information they're asking for, but they will give an answer anyway. So basically, if I said, what did you eat for breakfast 2 months ago on Monday, on a Monday? Well, you probably have no idea, and most people don't. And the same thing happens in clinical practice all the time, right? We work with people and we ask them questions like, on a scale of 1 to 10, what was the pain at the onset of this problem? What is it now? What was it at its best? What was it at its worst? And people start going, I don't know, I don't remember. Well, it's the same thing when you start asking people what they ate, how much turkey they ate, how much meat they ate, how many eggs they ate. People just don't remember these kinds of details, but they'll tend to go and lean in a certain bias. So we have to take that into consideration. Now, when we look at this, what they determined is 300 milligrams of cholesterol. Mind you, that's 2 eggs. 300 milligrams of cholesterol will increase cardiovascular disease by 17%, increase mortality rate by 18%. Okay, and every time you add a half an egg in, it's going to increase this number by 6%. And every time you add a half an egg in on top of those 2 eggs, once again, it's going to increase this number by 8%. Okay, so what they're finding basically in this study is that you are going to die as a result of cholesterol. Now, once again, take into consideration, this is only 2 eggs right here. So, that's really crazy numbers right there. One of the things that they found with this study too is there's a conflict of interest in the release of the funding, support, and disclosure. And so what they found basically is that with this study, that they don't really know who's funding it, and the people who are funding it that they do know of, it's kind of a conflict of interest, okay? And that's a big problem with many studies out there. Most people are funding studies with their agenda, and that's basically what they're saying with this study right here. Next here is there's weak correlation, okay? There's weak correlation between eggs actually causing the heart disease and increase in mortality rate. And when you have weak correlation, that's a big problem, because at a weak level, you can correlate almost anything. I bet you at a weak level, we can correlate eating eggs to causing car accidents, right? Because if you were to go and look at how many people get in car accidents, there's a good chance that they ate an egg in that day. And so you have to understand some of the goofy things that can come into consideration here when we talk about weak correlation. And it happens a lot when somebody who has an agenda is trying to actually correlate things in research. Next here is there's no control. So once again, when I say this all the time, when you talk about certain foods like eating high fat diet, for instance, and that causing health concerns, one of the things we have to consider is what else is a person doing, okay? In the study, there was no control to say, okay, yeah, these people were eating eggs, but they're also smoking, they didn't exercise, they drank, 2 sodas a day, and they were eating fast food for the most part. So there's nobody actually determining that. And so that's a big thing to take into consideration, because of course, if you're eating eggs compiled with an absolutely horrible lifestyle, it's going to cause some serious problems. So we have to take that into consideration. And then the last thing I want to know here is, what's the motive? What's the motive behind taking something that we know is a good health food that has been around for thousands of years and been consumed by the population forever, and trying to demonize it all the time? I mean, like, are we going to start demonizing exercise and saying stop doing that because it's killing you? And there's these different truisms that we are 100% aware of that are good for us, that aren't going to cause health problems, but yet there's these studies that come out that are just smashing them, like a high fat, low carb diet. And so when we look at this, my question was, what's the motive? What's the goal here? What's the interest in doing this? And so what I want to do is hear your thoughts. Put it in the comment section down here below. What's your thoughts? Why are they going in and trying to demonize eggs? What's the purpose of it? Put your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to know. And the other thing I want to mention here is just egg nutrition, okay? Because once again, I always tell people it's a perfect food. It's great in so many ways. It's loaded with choline. It's good for the brain. Lots of vitamins in here. Lots of antioxidants. It's high in fat, high in protein. And there's about 77 calories per egg. So overall, eggs are very good, healthy foods. So put your thoughts in the comment section below here. Give this video a thumbs up, and be sure to share it with your friends. I greatly appreciate it if you share it with your friends. Share it in your Facebook group, put it on your website, whatever you want to do with it. Share it with your friends so that they can know that eggs is not going to kill them. And then lastly, be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. I'd greatly appreciate it. And check out my other video on how you can improve your health eating eggs.